Okay, so for the assignment today, we're going to go through some sentences, look at them, and make corrections. All of these sentences have some kind of an error in them, so we'll just start at the first one. So the amount of informations available nowadays is too much, many for any person to learn. All right, so there's some grammatical problems here. The amount of informations, this would have to be singular here. The amount of information. I guess because information is a collective noun, so you can't count it. So you can't have like a plural of information. So the amount of information available nowadays. So this would be your subject of the sentence. The amount of information available nowadays is the verb. Too much, many. So there's too many words here. So you can say too much is too much. So much would be an adjective, and many would be an adjective. Much is used for measurement, and many is used for counting. So you have to pick one or the other. So information is something you would measure. It's not something you can count because it's not countable. So this would have to be too much for any person to learn. And the rest of it looks fine, I think. So the amount of information available nowadays is too much for any person to learn. Number 2. The population of different area of the world are increasing dramatically. Okay, so the problem here is the population of different area. This could be areas of different areas of the world are increasing dramatically. So just putting like of different areas doesn't make this plural. So this would have to be like is. The population of different areas of the world. But that doesn't really work either because each area has its own population. So this has to be populations. So the populations of different areas of the world are increasing dramatically. Yeah, so I think the grammar check is wrong here. The populations of different areas of the world are increasing dramatically. Populations are. Yeah, I think this is just it's just a glitch in the program, I think. All right, so that would be number 2. Let's move on to number 3. The government could increase the amount for cheap social housing constructed. And it looks like there's a space here between ho and using. And I'm guessing their spell checker didn't catch this because using is a word, and I'm guessing ho would maybe be considered a word like ho ho ho, like Santa Claus would say. I'm pretty sure they meant to say that, housing. So the government could increase the amount for cheap social housing constructed. So amount of what? So the amount of houses or the amount of money? So, I mean, you have to say the amount of something. So I think they were talking about maybe amount could increase the amount. Well, first of all, this wouldn't be for, this would be of. So the amount of cheap social housing constructed. So this could be talking about them just building more cheap social housing. So the government could increase the amount of cheap social housing constructed. This is kind of hard to parse for a native speaker. or for any listener. So it'd be of cheap social housing that is constructed, or that it constructs would sound better. Um, the government could increase. Yeah, they could. They could increase it. You might be saying maybe they should increase it. Like, could increase it is just talking about a possibility. Should increase it is giving your opinion. But maybe we are just talking about possibilities. I mean, sure, they could and they could not. I mean, it's an option that they could take. So the government could increase the amount. And like I'm saying, this amount is a lot of times used with money, so this is a little bit confusing. You might want to change this to like the quantity, increase the quantity of cheap social housing that it constructs. And constructs is kind of an advanced word. Like you might just want to say that it builds because it's a simpler word. It's a more common word. So the government could increase the quantity. Could increase, oh, I guess amount might work there. Could increase the amount of cheap social housing that it builds. But once again, out of context, it's kind of hard to understand why you're saying they could do this. Like, why are you even making this statement? Like, if you said should, then it's obvious you're just giving an opinion that they should build more of it. If you're saying could, then you have to kind of give a reason. Like, they could increase the amount of cheap social housing that it builds if more money was allotted to the cause, right? If more money were, we use subjunctive clause, subjunctive mood here. If more money were allotted to the cause, or maybe there's some simpler language. If more money were uh, uh, devoted to the cause, something like that might be a better sentence. The government could increase the amount of cheap social housing that it builds. And I don't know if I'd call this social housing. I might call this like public housing. Um, Normally, when you talk about housing the government builds, you talk about as public housing, like housing projects. And I probably would change this like should, because I think this is like you're trying to give an opinion. So you're saying the government should increase this. They should increase the amount of cheap public housing that it builds, right? So I mean, this is a complete sentence here, and it's understandable what idea you're trying to get across. All right, so let's move on to number 4. So education is improved gradually, but situation is not happening fast enough. So I think what they're trying to say is education is being improved. Why is this wrong? Education is improved gradually. It's like the tense is wrong. Is improved. So you're saying education, which is this concept of being educated, is an adjective, is improved. But education is not improved. It doesn't really make sense to say that the concept of education is improved. Um, Instead, you want to say is being improved. Um, so now education is being. Like something, education is doing something now. Instead of education being this adjective, education is doing something. It's being, and that being is improving over time, gradually, comma. But the situation is not happening fast enough. Actually, but So, I mean, this is a grammatically complete sentence here. It's still just a little bit off. I mean, it's understandable. Education is being improved gradually. You could just say, but not fast enough. So it's being improved, but not fast enough. It's not being improved fast enough. And you're kind of saying that twice, though. So you're saying it's being improved gradually. Well, gradually is placing an opinion on how it's being improved. So when you say gradually, you're already kind of making the statement that it's not happening fast enough. So to then repeat yourself here is not necessary. So you could just say education is being improved gradually. And you're making an opinion that it's a very slow improvement. Or you could just say education is being improved, but not fast enough. This is also making an opinion. And you need a D on the end here. Being improved, but not fast enough. And this is a complete statement that gets the point across. All right, so next sentence. Television has had as much consequence on the way we live as the internet. All right, well, first of all, internet, maybe this has changed over the years, but at least in 1995, when the internet was starting to take off, they made a really big deal about capitalizing the word internet because it's the name of the system. So you should capitalize internet. Maybe it's so common now. I mean, internet is everywhere. Maybe these rules have changed. I'm not sure, but we'll capitalize it. Television has had as much consequence on the way we live as the internet. Well, first of all, the way we live. The verb has to agree with the subject. Has as much. So you don't normally use measurement with consequence. You count consequences because there's a whole bunch of consequences to this technology. So we'll say as many consequences. So television has had as many consequences on the way we live as the internet has had on the way we live. Okay, so television has had as many consequences on the way we live as the internet. I guess it's saying that it's about the same number of consequences, which I'm not really sure if I agree with that, but that's what they're saying. They're saying it has as many, not way more than, not way less than, but about the same on the way we live as the internet. Another way to word this might be to say television and the internet have both had about as much effect on our lives. Both had about the same amount of effect, or yeah. Now this isn't. I'm not really sure this is something I'd even state. If I were trying to state that television and the internet have both affected our lives equally, that might be a way to say it. Television and the internet have both affected our lives equally. Might be a simpler way to say this. Notice you're using affected and not effected because effected. So if one thing changes something else, that's affected with an A. All right, so there's a few different possibilities for how this one could be worded. Next one, number 6. People always spend too much time to accessing the internet in their leisure time. All right, instead of correcting the grammar piece by piece, I'm just going to try to reword these in a way that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to correct the grammar. I'm not really clear on what the assignment is. So people always spend too much time because, again, time is not countable. It's just a concept. It's a collective noun or an abstract noun. It's an uncountable abstract noun. People always spend too much time. You don't want to use the infinitive here. You just want to use the gerund here. Spend time accessing. Participle or gerund. I'm not really sure what the terminology would be for this. The ing version of the verb. The internet, will capitalize that, in their leisure time. So people always spend too much time accessing the internet. I would reword this, say people always spend too much of their free time. You could say leisure time, but I think free time is more natural. People always spend too much of their free time, instead of accessing the internet, just say on the internet. On the internet. Period. People always spend too much of their free time on the internet. But always doesn't really work here either, because people don't always spend too much of their, I don't know, it just doesn't really work because people are not always on the internet. They either spend too much of their free time, or they're always on it. And you can say people are always on the internet. Like that works. People are always on the internet. Or you say people spend too much of their free time on the internet. And that's saying something very different. Saying they're not always on the internet, but they spend a lot of their free time on the internet when they could be doing something else, like, reading a book. So this could be corrected either way. So this is a very natural sentence here. People spend too much of their free time on the internet. All right, so moving on to number 7. So more money needs to invested in infrastructure, but it depends on the funds available. All right, this one's going to be a tough one. More money needs to be invested on infrastructure, but it depends on the funds available. It's not really natural. I understand what you're saying. I think you're trying to say something like more money needs to be invested on infrastructure, but it depends on the funds available. Well, yeah, money you invest does depend on the funds available. But what point are you trying to make here? I think they're saying there's not enough funds available. So you could say something like more money needs to be invested on or into. You can invest into something or on something. So infrastructure. So more money needs to be invested into infrastructure, but not enough funds are available. I think is really what you're trying to say here. Not enough funds are available. We need to build more bridges, improve roads, but there's not enough funds available to do it properly. All right, so that was number 7. Let's move on to number 8. The government needs to increasing funding to solve the traffic modern problems in major cities. All right. I'm going to not really correct the grammar bit by bit anymore. I did it for the first 7 sentences. I think this is just going to be too long of a video if I do that. I'm just going to try to think about what they're saying and come up with a clearer way to state it. All right, so the government needs to increase funding to solve modern traffic problems in major cities. So first of all, you could say, in order to solve modern traffic problems, comma, government. You could swap the order here. I think it would sound a little bit better. So you could say, to solve to solve traffic problems in modern cities. See, I think you want to say the cities are modern, not the traffic. The traffic isn't modern. The traffic is just traffic. The cities are modern. You're talking about today. And in particular, you're talking about cities today having harder traffic problems and more traffic than in the past. So this does that. It says to solve traffic problems in modern cities, and you don't have to say major anymore, because when you say modern cities, you know you're talking about New York, Bangkok, Atlanta, and so on. So to solve traffic problems in modern cities, the government needs to increase funding. That's it. That's the whole sentence. Very clear. To solve traffic problems in modern cities, the government needs to increase funding. And when you say the government, you're talking about a particular government. You're talking about the Thai government or the American, the New York State government. If you just say government, you get rid of the word the, then you're talking about governments in general. So you're saying in the world today, governments collectively in the world need to increase funding because of modern traffic problems. All right, moving on. We're on to number 9. Office accommodations sometimes makes the center off cities and towns soulless. All right, so I looked at this one before, hold on. I'm going to stop the video and I'll start it right back in just a minute. All right, so number 9. Office accommodations sometimes makes the center off cities and towns soulless. First, the glaring mistake here is off. They meant to say of. Office accommodations sometimes make. Accommodations make. Accommodation makes. Accommodations make. Has to agree. Office accommodations sometimes make the centers of cities. This has to be plural. Sometimes make the centers of cities and towns soulless. So this sentence works. Office accommodations sometimes make the centers of cities and towns soulless. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Moving on to number 10. The teacher asked us to write 10 sentences. All right. The teacher asks or asked. So you're probably talking about something that happened already. So you would say asked us to write 10 sentences with an S. Okay. Next one, number 11. Okay. Each student is supposed to having exactly 2 mistakes. First of all, I don't think they mean student. I think they mean sentence. Each sentence is supposed to have exactly 2 mistakes. Okay, so that sentence is good now. Number 12. I'm just going to type it the way it should be. See, it says down here, number 12, we are supposed, I'll put supposed, to send sentences to, well, I'll type it and correct it. All right, so to teacher using line. We are supposed to send, you need a determiner here, unless you're talking about sentences in general, but you're not talking about every sentence in the world. You're only talking about these sentences. So you can say the sentences. We are supposed to send the sentences that we're talking about. To the teacher using line. We are supposed to send the sentences to the teacher using line. Okay. 13. Next class, we will going to discuss the sentences with class. You can change this to next class we are going to, because going to is already future tense, so you don't need to say will going to, you say are going to. Discuss the sentences with, you need a determiner here, with the class. And now, normally you don't want to use the same word twice, like class and class, especially since here it has two different meanings. Like here you're talking about the class period, and here you're talking about the students and the teacher in the class. So this is super confusing. I would change this to something like, next class we're going to discuss the sentences. Like that's enough. You don't have to say with the class, because you already have the word class here. Or if you want to, you could say, discuss the sentences together. Say the teacher and the students were all going to sit together and talk about it. All right, number 14. Students will discuss the sentences and try to find the mistakes. Students will discuss the sentences and try, see I even put this in here, try find the mistakes. So there is a mistake here, it's to, you have to put the word to in there. And try to find the mistakes. And that's a complete sentence now. Number 15. Students that unable to finish the assignment on time should ask more time. Alright, so we have a few changes here. Students that are unable, you need a verb. You can't just have subject and adjective. You have to have a verb. So students that are unable to finish the assignment on time should ask. You don't ask, you ask your friend. You don't ask a time. You can't ask a question to a time. You can ask the teacher for more time. So we put the word for in there. All right, moving on to number 16. After hearing the complaints of a few of students, the teacher extend the deadline. After hearing the complaints of a few students, so you don't say a few of students, you just say a few students. Yeah, not sure what the rule is there, but complaints of a few students, a few I guess is like the determiner. So you can't say a students. You can say a few. I don't know what the rule is there. I need to look into that. So after hearing the complaints of a few students, the teacher extended the deadline. So this happened first, and this happened next, which means it happened already, which means it's in the past. So you use the past tense. All right, next, number 17. The teacher said to take our time to assignment. All right, so the teacher said to take our time doing the assignment. You have to have ing. See, if you were not going to have ing, you'd almost have to put like a comma there. So your teacher said to take our time, comma, do the assignment, like she's telling us to do the assignment. But that's not what happened. She's telling us to take our time doing what? Doing the assignment. It's almost like while doing the assignment, but you don't use the word while there. So the teacher said to take our time doing the assignment. That sounds good. So the teacher said that the assignment should submitted within 4 p.m. All right, I've heard this used in Thailand quite a bit. Should, like when you say submitted within 4 p.m., it doesn't really make sense because you have like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and you have like 3:30 p.m., 4:30 p.m., right? So within 4 p.m. Well, this is 4 p.m. How do you have something within 4 p.m.? But I don't think that's why they're translating it that way. They're not trying to put this this submission inside that 4 p.m. moment, like within it. I think they're saying within, like before, like up until like tung or something. Um, so they're saying anywhere in here is fine. Well, that's not within 4 p.m. That's before 4 p.m. So we have to change this to before. So any time before 4 p.m. you can submit the assignment. So the teacher said that the assignment should be submitted. You have to have a verb here. You can't say should. Should what? I mean, you have to have another verb to go with should. So should be. Should be what? Adjective should be submitted. Submitted is the adjective. And then this is a time clause using a preposition. All right, and next one. The last sentence of my assignments. Okay, the doesn't work. You have to have a verb. This is the last sentence of my assignment. There's only one assignment. It's my one assignment. In fact, it's like one assignment for the whole class. And my assignment means my version of that, my work. So this is the last sentence of my work, my assignment. All right, number 20. Sentences comes in many shapes and sizes. This is almost right. Sentences come. It just has to agree between the subject and the verb. Sentences is third person, so you have to use, and it's plural. So you have to use the base form, the non-s, the non-s verb. All right, and moving on to 21. I hope that when I build up my savings, I'll be able to travel to Italy. This is almost right. I hope that when I have built, that's past tense, perfect. Have built. It's past perfect. But you can't say have build. You have to say have built, because built is the past participle of build. You have to use the past participle. I hope that when I've built up my savings, I'll be able to travel to Italy. When is like you want to use once here. I hope that once I have done something. So when is talking about the very moment that you have done that building of your savings. Once is talking about that moment and everything past it. So it's not like at the very moment you've built up your savings, you're immediately going to jump on a plane. No, it's like once I have built up my savings, then sometime after that, I'm going to jump on a plane. And it's a bit strange having this in the middle of the sentence. It works grammatically, but more naturally would be to have it either at the beginning or end. So you can say, once I've built up my savings, comma, I hope that I'll be able to travel to Italy. Or you could put it at the end, and you could say, I hope that I'll be able to travel to Italy once I've built up my savings. So to say, I hope, comma, anything else, comma, that I'll be able to. It splits the hope that something. You don't really want to split that. It's grammatically okay, but it's hard to follow the concept. Um, and then online learning have many disadvantages. So online learning it's a concept. This is a gerund. Uh, has. It's one thing. It's one concept. This concept has many, and then disadvantages would be one word. All right, number 23. Online learning is study by using internet and technological tools. All right, once again, I'm going to capitalize internet. And you can't say internet, you have to say the internet. Using internet. Yeah, it's a thing that you have to use a determiner with. Online learning is study. This doesn't work grammatically. Online learning is study. I can see why you would think it would work, but it is studying. Study is study using the internet. It almost works, but I'm not sure why it doesn't work. You have to put ing. Online learning it's just like an equal sign, is studying by, you don't need the word by, is studying using the internet and technological tools. This is kind of hard to parse when you could simply just say technology. Because that's what technological tools are, they're just technology. Online learning is studying using, this is like a definition. It's like ku. Online learning studying using the internet and technology. That works. All right, next we have two teenagers was arrested by a police officers last century. All right, you have to say it's not was but were because it's plural. Two teenagers were arrested by a police officer. So get rid of the S there. Were arrested by a police officer. Or you say by police officers. Like more than one. And you don't need the determiner. In fact, police isn't even acting as a determiner. You can just say by officers. Two teenagers were arrested by officers. You could say some officers. That works too. Or the officers. Or the police officers. Those work, but you don't need the determiner. I'm not sure why. Two teenagers were arrested by police officers last century, which seems really unlikely. Right? Because this is saying that last century, so the entire 20th century, that only two teenagers were ever arrested by police officers. First of all, you don't need to say by police officers, you just say by police, because it's obvious that it's the officers of the police department that are doing the arresting. Maybe you're talking about, this is making a general statement that last century only two teenagers were arrested by police, period, like in the entire universe, which probably is not what you mean. You're probably talking about, there was this time last century when two teenagers happened to be arrested, and I'm trying to tell you about it. If you wanted to say that, you would want to say something like, last century, comma, two teenagers were arrested by police. You have to give some more information, too. Two teenagers were arrested by police um, as those two teenagers, were walking down Main Street. Give some information because you're talking about two particular teenagers. So which two are you talking about? Give a little bit more information to clarify that you're not making a blanket statement about last century only arresting two teenagers. That would be kind of amazing. Um, it's also not true. So this clarifies that you're talking about a particular incident. Say something so that people know that you're talking about a particular incident. All right. So then next, um, a suitcase was found by. These are probably those. Yeah, these might be something to do with the arrest. A suitcase was found by students while they were going back home after his classes. Okay, so you wouldn't say his classes, you say their classes because it's students. Their. A suitcase was found by students while they were going back home after their classes. It's grammatically correct at this point. It's a little unclear what you're trying to say. Um, Going back home after their. It's clear what you're trying to say, but it's just not. It doesn't sound natural. I would maybe say something like, while. First of all, I think you need a determiner here. Suitcase was found by some students. Found by students. I mean, I could see this maybe being in a news report like this. A suitcase was found by students while they were going back. But in natural speech, you would have a determiner in here. Found by some students while they were going back home after their classes. It's a little bit of a run-on sentence or something. Let's see how we're going to fix this. A suitcase was found by some students while returning from class. That sounds more natural. I'm not really sure what the difference is. While they were going, maybe the going back home, while they were returning home. And then after their classes, change that to from class. While they were, you get rid of they were, while returning. See, with while they were, this is just a little bit wordy. It's not natural. A native speaker is going to reduce this as much as possible when they speak it. Any unnecessary words don't need to be in there, and these are unnecessary words. A suitcase was found by some students while returning home from class. So that works. All right, moving on, number 26. The accident happened when the driver slept. This is similar with the when. You're trying to say that two things are happening at the same time, and this just doesn't sound natural here with when. The accident happened when the driver slept while drive the truck. All right, so most obvious thing is while driving. The accident happened when the driver slept. So the accident didn't happen when he was sleeping. The accident happened because he was sleeping. You say because the driver, and you don't say because the driver slept. It's because he fell asleep. Because he didn't sleep for very long. If he fell asleep and he's driving a truck, he's going to have an accident within seconds. So the accident happened because the driver fell asleep while driving the truck. So this sounds like a natural sentence now. All right, moving on. Um, he work as a cashiers in this supermarket now. He works as a cashier in this supermarket now. That's how you say that. You got to take the S off, add an S here. Make this singular because there's only one of him. He's a cashier. He's not a bunch of cashiers. So that would be the correct sentence there. All right, next, she baked pies for her children tomorrow. So tomorrow is future and baked is past. You can't put those together. So assuming tomorrow is correct, then you're going to have to say she will bake. She will bake pies for her children tomorrow. Like she's going to do the baking tomorrow. Like tomorrow morning, she's going to wake up and start baking. Or you could say that the pies are for the children to eat tomorrow. She's going to make them now. They're for the children tomorrow. And the way you would say that is she is baking. Right now, she is baking pies for her children tomorrow. If you want to say she baked them in the past for her children tomorrow, let's see how you would say that. She baked pies. So instead of using past simple, you could use she has baked pies for her children. Probably the better way was she baked pies. She has already baked them. So she has finished baking pies for her children tomorrow. Or it's still just not really clear why you're doing past and future. You could say to bring to school tomorrow. Her children are going to bring the pies to school tomorrow. In fact, if you're going to do that, then you could put it back the way it was. She baked pies for her children to bring to school tomorrow. This works also. It means she's already baked them, and the children are going to bring them to school tomorrow. All right, so number 29. They playing football every day. All right, so this should be playing. Every should have a lowercase e. You can't say they and then an ing verb. You have to have to be in here. So they are playing. So they are playing football every day. This works. That means that every day they play football. At least right now they do. Yesterday they probably did. Tomorrow they probably will. Right? They may not do it forever, but at least in the general present, every day they're playing football. A year from now, maybe they won't be doing it anymore. So if you say they were playing football every day, that means like that could have been a year ago. Maybe a year ago for a few weeks or for 6 months or maybe all year. They were playing football every day for some period of time and they're no longer playing it. Or if you want to make it future, you can say they will be playing football every day, which means that right now they're not playing, or they're not playing every day. But, at some point in the future, maybe a week from now, they're going to start playing football every day. So moving on to number 30. News aren't truth and it made from thought of someone. Sounds like what you're trying to say is news is fake or something. Like that could be the whole concept. You probably want to, because it's kind of weird to say that all news is fake. You might want to say like mainstream news is fake. Or mainstream news is fake news. Makes it sound kind of like a idiom or a like a something repeatable, like a meme or something. Mainstream news is fake news. This is like something Donald Trump would say. Um, or if you want to be more scientific about it, you could say news. Well, some of it's truth. And if you really want to say it, none of it is truth, you could say news is completely made up or is completely fictional. Um, and is um, news is completely fictional. Yeah, it's a blanket statement. It's kind of weird to be making this statement. Because why is there news if it's all fake, right? Some of it's got to be real, I would think. You might want to say like most news. Now this makes some sense. This is more palatable as an opinion. So most news is completely fictional, or you could be more colloquial and say completely made up. Um, and if you're trying to say it's someone's thoughts, then you're really saying it's someone's opinions. And then you want to say like most news is full of opinions, or you can say full of biases. If you think it's like someone's opinion about what's going on in the world, so it's biased towards the person who wrote the story. Um, all right, so then number 31. I'm come from Thai with my parents. This would be I came from, because it's past tense. I came from Thailand with my parents. If you say I come, you wouldn't say I'm come. You'd say I come. I come from Thailand with my parents. But this wording is something like you'd expect an alien life form from Mars to say. They say, I come from Mars. I demand to speak to your leader. It's like making some blanket statements from authority. Like someone with authority might say this. I come from Thai. I come from Thailand. It's a little too official to make that statement. Just say I came from Thailand. With my parents. You're talking about how you traveled. If you just want to talk about where you're from, just say I'm from Thailand. Right? I mean, that's all you really want to say if you want to say where you're from. I'm from Thailand. I came from Thailand with my parents. All right, next, everyone have been their rooms for studying online class to, wow, this one has some issues, to 2 hours. I'm just going to correct this. So everyone has been in their rooms for studying online class for 2 hours. I'll say everyone has been in their rooms studying online class for the past 2 hours. This is a very clear version of that. Or if you don't want the comma, you could say everyone has been studying online in their rooms for 2 hours or 2 hours straight. If you want to emphasize that it's such a long time, you can say 2 hours straight. They haven't even taken a break. Number 33. We on have enough money to hung out tonight. All right, I think they're trying to say we don't. We don't have enough money to, instead of hung out, it's hang out. So we don't have enough money to hang out tonight. This is a sentence. All right, 34. Her thinking is so interested for studying a new style. I don't even know what you're saying. What does this even mean? I could guess. Her thinking is so interested. So that means she's interested. Like her thinking she's thinking that she's interested. And studying a new style, I'm going to say this is like yang mai, right? So new style. No, it doesn't really work in English. You can say for studying in a new way. Studying in a new way. She wants to change how she studies. So you could say she is interested in studying in new ways, new and interesting ways. Something like that. Still don't really understand what you're trying to say here. Let's move on. My brother's believe is other person like his game. I think what you're trying to say is my brother thinks. It's a little easier than believes. It works. Believes works, but my brother thinks is more spoken. My brother thinks that other people like his game. But game, I mean, what game? You talking about chess or Monopoly or a video game? You might want to clarify his video game. But does that mean he wrote the video game? So like his video game, you could clarify and say like the video game he wrote or he designed, right? If he made the video game. Or you could say he thinks that other people like the video game he plays every day. Just clarify what you mean by game. If you just say like his game, you could be talking about he plays badminton. He's very good at it, and people like his game, meaning they like how he plays. Number 36. I was learned the history of the native peoples of Australia for made a report. If the grammar wasn't so bad, I would think you really meant the peoples of Australia. Because this does work. You can say the peoples of Australia. That means there's more than one people. There's the Aboriginal people. There's the people who moved there, like the settlers. That's another people. Maybe there's different cultures in Australia. Each one would be considered a people of Australia. But I'm going to guess you really just meant the people of Australia. Yeah, the native people of Australia. So you're just talking about one group of people, which is the native people. So make that singular, because people is already plural. Yeah. People can be singular or plural. So you can say, we are a confident people. Or you can say, we are confident people. Alright, so the difference here is we are confident people. It's saying we are people. There's more than one of us. We are people. Right? And we're confident people. Number 2, we are a confident people, which means you're really saying we are a people and we are confident. That's basically what you're saying. What does it mean we are a people? That means you're associated with each other. So if you're the Thai people are a people. The Thai people are one people. But that's kind of advanced, and I think probably what you mean is more like this first one, like we are confident people, where people is actually plural. So we're going to say, I was learned the history of the native people of Australia from Make a Report. Not I was learned. Just say I learned. I learned the history of the native people of Australia for a report. You can say for making a report, but it's not really natural. Just say for a report. All right, number 37. One of my friend Doesn't like all dog species because he was bite by a dog when he was young. All right, one of my friends, because you have more than one friend. You have one of and then some plural thing. One of my dogs, that means you have a bunch of dogs and you're talking about one of them. So one of my friends, you have a bunch of friends, you're talking about one of them. Doesn't like all dog species. Doesn't like any dog species. But why separate it by species? Because he doesn't like any dogs at all. So you don't need the word species. You can just say he doesn't like any dogs. One of my friends doesn't like any dogs because he was bitten. So use the past. I get so confused by the names of these tenses. Because he was bitten. Past. It's not had been bitten. So yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't like any dogs because he was. Well, I mean, I might as well look it up, right? Let's see. We'll figure this out. All right, so 12 tenses. Let's look this up. All right, 12 tenses. Maybe this one here. All right, so this is past. Oh, this is in Thai. Was, had been, is bitten, was bitten. Yeah, it's just like I don't think it's one of the tenses. It's past tense, and then this is a past participle acting like an adjective. An adjectival past participle. Because he was what? Was what adjective? He was bitten. Bitten by a dog when he was young. So this is natural now. All right, so then we go on to number 38. If I was a teacher, I would be given assignments to students every day. All right. First of all, every day as one word is like an adjective. So it's like everyday things. But we're not using it as an adjective. We're using it as an adverb. So I think you have to say every space day. Like ทุกวัน. ทุกวัน. If I was a teacher, this is subjunctive mood because it's an imaginary condition. So you say if I were a teacher. If I were a teacher, I would be giving assignments to students every day. Yeah, you probably would, because that's what being a teacher is. You give assignments every day. All right, and then number 39. Yesterday, my sister went to bought cosmetics and ingredients of American food by getting in a bus. I don't know how to fix this one other than to reword it. I get the idea. She got in a bus and she went to go buy some cosmetics and to buy some ingredients for American food. There's a lot going on here. And she did it all yesterday. So you say, yesterday, my sister boarded a bus or took a bus. You take a bus, like take a taxi, take a bus. My sister took a bus to go shopping for cosmetics and ingredients of American food. It's almost like two different things you're trying to say there. And ingredients for her and ingredients for cooking dinner. Then I'd almost make the American thing like another sentence. It's just too much information. Um, she is planning to cook American food tonight. Something like that. All right, then number 40. My friends always warn me when I make a mistake. That's awesome. All right, so you don't warn people when they make a mistake. You tell people. You tell them they made a mistake. Like you warn someone before something bad happens, not after something bad happens. So my friends always told me. Like you could say my friends always warned me not to make a mistake. Like before you make the mistake, they're telling you, don't you make a mistake now. They're warning you. Okay, but after the fact, you would have to say something like, my friends always told me when I made a mistake. I like that word, mistaken. Sounds like old English. My friends always told me when I made a mistake. Um, it sounds like you're talking about one instance. I think you're trying to talk in general. So you might want to say, my friends have always told me when I made. And now you could just make it simple, simple present. My friends have always told me when I make a mistake. So forever, my whole life, my friends have always had this habit of telling me every time I make a mistake. If you say made here, it means they don't really do it anymore. All right, so then number 41. Let's see, that's the next page here. All right, I'm going to stop the video and start it back in a second. All right, number 41. So she stressed the importance of carefully preparation. This would be she stressed the importance of. You can't use an adverb here, you have to use an adjective. She stressed the importance of careful preparation. That's a good sentence there. All right, number 42. I am Thailand, but my friends are Malaysia. I'm pretty sure your friends are not a country. Your friends are people, right? You can say your friends are people from Malaysia, or just my friends are from Malaysia. And I'm pretty sure you are not Thailand. You are a person. You might be a person from Thailand, but you are not the country. I am from Thailand, but my friends are from Malaysia. So this sentence works. Number 43. He likes to do jokes even when it's not fun. When would it not be fun to do a joke? Besides, jokes are not really fun anyway. Jokes are funny. Jokes make you laugh. They're funny. They're not fun where you just enjoy doing them. They're funny. They make you laugh. So, you'd have to say funny. He likes to do jokes. You don't do jokes, you tell jokes. He likes to tell jokes even when jokes is more than one joke. So this has to be they, even when they are not funny. He likes to tell jokes even when they are not funny. All right, next. 44. Vegetables have many benefits, so you should eat them. Should eat. Just use the base form of the verb here. Like the infinitive, but without the to. Vegetables have many benefits. anytime you have many, you have to use the plural. So you should eat them. And this is a good sentence now. All right, next. Alcohol are bad for your health, but why would people like to drink it? All right, so alcohol is, it's a collective, or I guess it, yeah, it's like uncountable. It's just saying alcohol in general is, like all alcohol is bad for your health. Um, but you're not making it's bad for your health. You can't say but why. You can say so why. So why would people like to drink it? It's a little simpler to say. So why do people? Do people? So why do people like to drink it? Because people do like to drink it. So why do they like to drink it? All right, so then number 46. She has just bought a new, powerfully and expensive car. She has buy. No, you have to use the has bought. This is one of those tenses. This one would be has bought. So this would be the has. This would be present perfect tense. She has bought. I don't think of these as tenses myself. Has bought. So she has just bought. This is a adverb. A new. Powerfully is a adverb. You can't put it. You don't want an adverb here. You're not talking about how she bought it. She didn't buy it powerfully. She bought a car that is powerful. So it's talking about the car. It has to be an adjective. She has just bought a new, powerful, and expensive car. I think the adjective order needs to change a little because English does have a concept of like a proper order for the adjectives, which I don't know the rules for, but I can tell you what sounds better. She has just bought a new, powerful, and expensive car. She's just bought a powerful and expensive new car. So the new car is the thing she's buying. I know new is an adjective, but the new car is the thing she's buying, and then you're describing that new car. So you have to have the new here. Okay, so then number 47. He can plays football very well, and he's so smart. So I think what you're trying to say is he can play, has to agree, football very well, and he's very smart. You can only use so when you're making like a comparison. So you say, and he's so smart, he knows how to, or he's so smart, he makes straight A's in school. But you can't just say he's so smart by itself. You have to give something else. You have to say he's very smart. Number 48, his students have been studied English and French since a long time. His students have been studied English and French. I'm assuming he is a teacher because only teachers have students. So maybe his students, the teacher's students. His students have been studying. Have been studying would be right here. Perfect continuous. Have been studying. Perfect continuous. His students have been studying English and French. You can't say since a long time. You can say since 4 p.m. or since May or since 2010. Like since some period of some point in time. Since some point in time. But you can say for and then some period of time, like for a long time, or for 6 months, or for 10 years. So you'd have to say for a long time. His students have been studying English and French for a long time. Number 49, he was driving fastly, so he has an accident. It probably corrected that to vastly, because vastly isn't even a word. It's just a made-up word by whoever wrote this. He was driving fast is already an adverb. It doesn't need an ly on the end of it. How was he driving? He was driving fast. So he had an accident. It's like something that already happened. Number 50. My mom is 40 years old, but her looks very young. I think what you're trying to say is, my mom is 40 years old, but she looks very young. Yeah, so that sentence works there. Okay. And is that it? There's only 50. Oh no, there's another column here. Let's see, over here. All right, number 51. I saw her going to work on the morning when I have going to school. All right. So I saw her going to work this morning. You can't say on the morning. You can say this morning. Like which morning? When did it happen? This morning? Yesterday morning? I saw her going to work this morning while I was on my way to school. Like you're on your way to school and you saw her going to work. Maybe something like that is what you're trying to say. All right, number 52. We do chocolate cake with my brother today. That's pretty good. We do chocolate cake with my brother today. It's an appointment, so you can use present simple because it's something that's going to happen. It's present simple. So you're stating a fact that we will do chocolate cake. So I mean, better, slightly better, I think, is we will do chocolate cake with my brother today, or we will have chocolate cake with my brother today. But we do chocolate cake with my brother today sounds like you have an appointment with your brother to have chocolate cake, which is fine. We will have chocolate cake with my brother today. That works too. All right. Eat too many fish is not good for her body. It's not good for her body, or it's not good for anybody. It's not good. You can just say not good for you, because it's everybody. It's just a general fact that eating too much fish, by the way, too much fish. Yeah, so I mean, you could say, if you're talking many fish, you're talking about countable fish. So if you have 100 fish to eat and you're going to eat 50 of them, that's too many. You're eating too many. You're eating 50. But you can also talk about fish like it's something that you measure with much, because you can have half a fish, right? Which isn't many at all. It's not even one. It's half. So it's better to talk about it as a quantity. You eat too much fish, because it's not about how many you eat that makes you sick. It's how it's the quantity. If you might eat one fish, but if that's a 200 kilogram salmon, right? That's one fish, but it's too much fish, right? So, and then you have to say eating. Eat too much fish is. You have two verbs here. You have eat and is. Two verbs. Can't do that without a subordinate clause. So eating too much fish now becomes the subject, where eating is the subject. Eating what? Eating too much fish is like it's a I don't know what you call that. But this is a gerund with some parameters. So eating too much fish is the subject. Is equal to not good for you. All right. Number 54. Drink tea on the morning. Again, we have on the morning. You can't say that. Made her bones strong. So I guess we're saying she drank tea every morning. So you can say drinking tea in the morning. That works. In the morning. Drinking tea in the morning, which means drinking tea every morning. Or at least for some period of time. You drink tea some mornings, every morning. You just drink teas in the mornings. So drinking tea in the morning made her bones strong. So this sentence works like this. You could also say drinking tea every morning. All right, number 55. My favorite activities, he was trying to correct me there, is read articles. So my favorite activity is, you can't have is read. This is two verbs. You have to put a gerund here. So is reading articles. So reading articles is a noun. So my favorite activity is this particular activity, noun. All right, number 56. You can went to. Let's see. Yeah, can't say can went. You can say can go. You can went to cinema when you have finished do your homework. When you have finished. So have finished would be present perfect, right? Present perfect. Have finished. Have finished what? Well, it has to be a noun here. Well, do is a verb. You can't have a verb after this. That would be a verb followed by a verb. You have to say doing. When you have finished doing your homework, you can go to, you need a determiner here. You can say go to university. I think it's kind of just a set expression. Go to university. Go to school. But it only works with certain words like school and university. Things you sign up for. Go to work. But you can't say go to cinema. You have to say go to the cinema. You have to put a determiner in there. You can go to the cinema when you have finished doing your homework. Now, in American English, at least, this wouldn't be very natural. People don't say cinema at all. They just don't say it. They say go to the movies. You can go to the movies when you have finished doing your homework. You could also make this in a what do you call that? Abbreviation? I can't think of the word for that. But you can go to the movies when you have or you've finished doing your homework. And you can take the word doing out too, when you've finished your homework. So this is a complete sentence here. Very natural. Number 57. We start working in this working. I don't even know what this means. Maybe you meant morning. We start working in this morning because that's kind of, I've been hearing in this morning a lot. So we start working in this morning. You can say in the morning. In the morning means tomorrow morning. Anytime you say, I'm going to do this in the morning, I'm going to do that in the morning, you're talking about tomorrow morning. We start working in the morning means we're going to start tomorrow morning. All right, number 58. Thy have take your umbrella because it's raining. Well, thy is this is like early modern English. I don't think that's what you meant to do. If you were really going to do early modern English, you'd have to say you can't say thy because that's a possessive. You just say thou hast taken thy umbrella, wherefore 'tis raining. This would be like the early modern English version. 'Tis is it is. It is becomes 'tis. Thou is like the second person singular. Hast. Once you use thou, you have to conjugate the verb. Taken. Thy. So the possessive here has to match the subject. So this is the possessive or genitive of thou is thy. Possessive adjective or yeah, possessive pronoun. Umbrella. Wherefore can also mean like because. It has some other meanings too, but it can mean because. Wherefore 'tis raining. I think this is probably correct. Modern English. Take your umbrella. You should take your umbrella because it's raining. Would be the modern version of that. Number 59. We have to save the money for buying a new house. Just get rid of the determiner here. You're not saving a particular money, you're just saving money in general. We have to save money for buying. It's close. I mean, like, it's not really natural to buy. We have to save money to buy a new house. This is a good sentence here. Number 60, final one. I wished we will pass our all courses this semesters. Alright, so I wished that we will. So this is past tense and this is future. Can't really mix that. I wish we will pass. Can't you really use wish here? You can say I hope. I hope we will pass our all courses. You have to change the order here. All of our courses. I hope we will pass all of our courses this semester. It's one semester. Just one semester. And this sentence is natural. And that's it.